Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're here in Greenwich.
Yes, Royal Greenwich.
Royal Greenwich. And next to a beautiful fountain. The Kati Sark is just over there. And behind us is a music school. We'll list that out, what the name of it is. I can't remember, like Greenwich Music School or something. But anyway, that's not why we're here.
No.
We're here to read Srimad Bhagavatam.
So we're starting chapter 8, canto 3, chapter 8, text 1. The chapter is called Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Oh, that's a boat.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 1. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puri is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful. And it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. The great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reference to his family glories. The Puru dynasty was full of devotees of the personality of Godhead and was therefore glorious, because they were not attached to impersonal Brahman or to the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. They were worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees. Because Vidura was one of the descendants of that family, naturally he engaged in spreading wide the ever-new glories of the Lord. Maitreya felt happy to have such a glorious company as Vidura. He considered the company of Vidura most desirable because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensities for devotional service.
Nice purport.
Yeah, it's about the association. You know, because I was just thinking, in one sense, Duryodhana drove out Vidura. No?
Yes.
And then, I mean, the point is that it's not the position, the title, the this and that. Actually, this is the real success, and this is the real nectar that Maitreya, such a exalted devotee, Maitreya Muni is appreciating the association with Vidura and vice versa, and they're churning the nectar of Krishna Katha, which is really all it's about. You just need Krishna consciousness, just somehow get a taste, everything. And sometimes we need to engage in other things or stuff to keep us engaged, and the taste at which we can appreciate the process. But really it's just about sitting down outside the Royal Music School in Greenwich and reading Krishna Katha.
I guess if it's really all just about reading, you never leave home, you just read all day.
Well, not just read, I mean like being absorbed and discussing. And
yeah, it's nice that Maitreya is appreciating Vidura. He's also appreciating him from the sense that he is appreciating his family first, which is interesting. He's glorifying him by his family lineage. He's saying that he's worthy because they worship Bhagavan form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead form, and not just Brahman or Paramatma and like that. And so therefore they're qualified to engage fully in the service. And then of course, as you were saying, that really the key is to have desirable association. Someone around us who inspires us to go deeper in our hearing and chanting and Krishna consciousness and like that. So I feel very fortunate to have such a wonderful wife that encourages me most of the time in hearing and chanting like that.
right.
But we'll carry on.
Oh yeah, and you too. Yeah. Okay, but it's saying about us. So just kidding.
So. Translation, text number 2 of the 8th chapter. What's this chapter called?
Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu.
Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavat Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled and extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. So remember, in the previous chapter, Vidura listed like innumerable questions. He was like so eager to hear, tell me about this, tell me about that, I want to know about this, I want to know why that happened, so many things. So Maitreya is eager to speak. Purport. The sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the Bhagavad Purana, because it was especially compiled and traditionally comes down in the disciplic succession for the solution of all the problems of human society. Only one who is fortunate can have the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Under the spell of material energy, the living entities are entrapped in the bondage of many difficulties simply for the sake of a little bit of material happiness. They engage in fruitive activities not knowing the implications. Under the false impression that the body is the self, the living entities foolishly relate to so many false attachments. They think that they can engage with materialistic paraphernalia forever. This gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continually, life after life, under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes in contact with the book Bhagavatam, Haribo Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, as well as with the devotees Bhagavat, Jai Bhava Bhakti Devi Ki, who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of material entanglement. So anyone who's watching this right now, this is an opportunity for us to get out of material entanglement. Not only are we hearing from Bhagavatam and experiencing the Bhagavatam, but you're hearing from the pure devotee, the Mahabhagavat, Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, Sri Maitreya Muni, out of compassion for the suffering men in the world, proposes to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. Very nice. Amazing. Thoughts?
Well, I don't want to prolong this because someone may be thinking, what does this mean? Maitreya Muni proposes to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. What is the Srimad Bhagavatam then? We started off with, what was it, Parikshit Maharaj being cursed, and he comes to sit down, and we're waiting for Sukadev Goswami to speak. He's speaking. So what is the Srimad Bhagavatam, one may ask?
Well, the point is that the Bhagavatam is the conversation on the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's described that in the heavenly planets, there's actually, 25,000 verses in the Bhagavatam? Something like that? Or more. It must be more than that. Maybe 25,000. I thought it was what?
18.
Maybe it's 18. Yeah, sorry. Please forgive our ignorance. But in the heavenly planets, it's actually many more verses. So the Bhagavatam is not like we would think. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described that Krishna has spoken the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna many, many times before, in many different circumstances. So this Gita, meaning the Song of God, and the Bhagavatam are similar in the principle that they're the glorification of the glorification of Bhagavan. So here what we see is that even though Shukadev Goswami is speaking and Sutta Goswami is speaking, this is all the Bhagavatam. They're all repeating the Bhagavatam, and now they're telling how Maitreya Muni is proposing to also speak Bhagavatam to them. Does that make sense, or is it just adds confusion? I think she's just saying yes so we can carry on. Text 3.
Comments in the section below if it makes sense.
Yeah, if it doesn't make sense, Hare Krishna.
Text 3, is that me? No.
Yes, ma'am.
Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truth regarding Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Shankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Purport. This is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumara and Lord Shankarshan. The plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them.
So here we see that even Sankarshan was speaking Bhagavatam to the boy saints, the four Kumaras. So Bhagavatam has been spoken so many times before. It's eternal. It's not just that it was spoken on this day.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
No.
Okay, text 4. At that time, Lord Sankarshan was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva. But for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his eyes, like lotus-like eyes, and began to speak. Text 5. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the Serpent King, excuse me, when they desire good husbands. Purport. Krishna. The Ganges water flows directly from the lotus feet of Vishnu, and its course runs from the highest planet of the universe down to the lowest. The sages came down from Satyaloka by taking advantage of the flowing water, a process of transportation made possible by the power of mystic yoga. So mystic yogis can travel down the Ganges without having a boat. If a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another simply by dipping in its water. We'll try that on the Thames on the way back. The Ganges is the only celestial river which flows throughout the universe, and great sages travel all over the universe via this sacred river. The statement that their hair was wet indicates that it was directly moistened by the water originating from the lotus feet of Vishnu, the Ganges. Whoever touches the water of the Ganges on his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly and can become free from all effects of sinful acts. Anyone out there who's bathed in the holy Ganga? Yeah, I have a few times. You?
Yeah.
Amazing. If, after taking a bath in the Ganges or being washed of all sins, a man guards himself against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up sinful activities, his bath in the Ganges is as good as that of the elephant who nicely takes his bath in a river but later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with dust on the land. So that analogy is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, also I think later in the 6th canto, but Prabhupada references it in Nectar of Instruction, right?
Yeah, next question. Yeah, it's amazing, these little siddhi shaktis.
What? Siddhis.
Siddhis.
Mystic cities.
Mystic cities that yogis have.
Yes, I guess you never know who you could meet along the bank of the Ganga.
That's true. That's true. Okay, text 6. The 4 Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that... At that time, Lord Shankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head.
On his head.
The Lord is sometimes addressed as, oh my days, between my sneezing and even, it's my, oh, sorry about
It's not
this.
even cold. I don't know why. It's like this. I guess it's
Oh my days.
pollen.
The Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. A profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably.
Interesting.
It's true. It's true though. Oh my days. Oh my days.
Yeah, guess it's the pollen.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Any sneezes? Any coughs?
Yeah, so it's true. You can't offer prayers suitably if you haven't got affection. I've been, not to get controversial, but yeah, I know one or two people who like glorify it on tap, but you feel quite yucky afterwards. And then I realise it's because it's just words, and it's not meant. It's interesting to say that I felt yucky, but I did. Like, oh, stop, just stop, because it was like just. But when someone genuinely shows has some affection when they speak, it may not be much, but it's different, isn't it? You feel it. So I'm sure the same way the Lord feels it with someone, a devotee that comes up in front of him, as opposed to someone who very grandly does grand big gestures and look what I did,
Interesting. Very nice point. Text number 7, and yeah.
Is this the end one?
Yeah. Lord Sankarshan thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumar, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumar also, in his turn, when inquired of by Sankyayana Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sankarshan. So basically, Lord Sankarshan spoke it to Sanat Kumar, and Sanat Kumar then later spoke it to Sankyayana Muni. This is the way of the Parampara system. Although Sanat Kumar, the well-known great saintly Kumar, was in the perfect stage of life, still he heard the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarshan. Similarly, when he was questioned by Sankyayana Muni, he spoke to him the same message he had heard from Lord Sankarshan. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. In devotional service, therefore, 2 items out of the 9, namely hearing and chanting, are the most important. Without hearing nicely, one cannot preach the message of Vedic knowledge. Wow, there you go. So we have to be able to hear, and we have to hear from the right source. And Srila Prabhupada is the perfect source to be hearing from. So we're very fortunate and blessed.
Yeah.
We just have to hear with the proper heart, with a proper consciousness.
Yeah, and here, it's a pigeon. There might be a pigeon coming view in a minute. He's gone for a little swim. Yeah, we have to hear. It's like without hearing nicely. I just took that. Like in a humble way, like hear first before you get to, oh, I know something now, blah, 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 blah. Preach, if that makes sense. Like, hear it nicely, understand it, realize it, and then you can preach nicely, nicely, properly, not on the surface.
Yeah, that's there, but even Srila Prabhupada said that Saraswati, daughter of Mother Malati and Shamsundar Prabhu, that just when she would go around and ask people, do you know who is Krishna? And they would say, no, who is Krishna? And she would say, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada said this is perfect preaching. Now, whether she had complete understanding of Krishna as a Supreme Personality.
No, but she did at her level. That's my point.
Okay, well that needs to be clarified.
I tried to clarify.
Well, I tried to help you. So we're just...
I mean, yeah, so you read it, realise it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Don't...
Yeah, but we shouldn't necessarily hear and then wait for an eternity
no one's
until I
saying
have
to
deep
wait. No one's saying
realization.
to wait. No.
But if we understand the principle, then we should get it, because we have to hear and we have to preach. That's the point. Yeah, we're going to have a little like box.
We're going to debate this off camera. Right.
Okay. Anyway, thank you all very
Read
much.
and be happy, as we are.
Okay. Thank you all very much for tuning in and joining us and hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Right. Nicely.
And remember, if you want a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, please do get in touch with us. Or if you have any questions or comments or any preferences or anything you'd like to share, please
just put it in the comments. I do read them.
Okay, and we respond. She responds.
I do.
I don't read them, we'll respond, but she does. Thank you very much. Grantarai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Hi, Hare Krishna.